The reason that I think people struggle with sale comes from a deep-rooted belief that they don't believe their product is worth selling. If you batch make too much in advance, then it ruins the fundamental reason why we should do content, which is test, iterate, test, iterate.
1 year ago, Saul Hyde was in a London 9-to-5, doing what everyone around him was doing, chasing the weekend, dreading Mondays. But he started to post content, and at first people laughed, called him cringe, but he kept going. And fast forward, he's now living in Bali, running a remote business that has made $109,000 in just 104 days. And the wildest part is, he didn't even blow up online, and he built something that anyone could copy. This episode breaks down exactly how he did it, the offers he used, his mindset, the content he makes, and how he converts his leads into clients. I hope you enjoy.
Are we good? We're live? All right. We've basically recorded a full fucking podcast before we even came on. But it's been a good first encounter, my man, so far. But I want to start right at your business. You've done 100, I think it was last time I checked, it was like 109K in 104 days, which is nice bit of symmetry to that as well.
Sounds good, doesn't it?
Yeah. Let's start with like, what is it that those clients who are paying you that money, like what is it that they're paying you for?
Mm-hmm. I think I've boiled this down into one very clear word, which is a system. Because what they're effectively paying for and investing in themselves is a proven offer plus client acquisition system. So a structured way of using a high ticket skill and then turning that into clients and then turning that into impact. And I go out and I test different methods of how that could work. I see myself as like a bit of a scientist, which sounds outrageous to say, right? But like right now I've got 5 or 6 tests going on about different ways to do all this stuff.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm like, this does work, this doesn't work. And then the one that works, I teach to my clients.
Yeah.
And that's what they're buying. And it's a time thing. It's a time and a knowledge thing.
And when you say testing now, are you testing manners in which you approach a sales call or content?
Everything.
Yeah.
So I'm testing every single part of the client acquisition journey. So I'm testing, should you use guarantees? I'm testing, should you say this in this part of the sales call, or should you not say it?
Yeah.
Should you post value-based content, or should you post lifestyle content? And all I'm doing is testing ways for people to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then all I need is someone to come to me and say, I have this skill or this knowledge. And I go, this works, this works, this works, this works. Save all of the time and effort that you're going to spend going and doing it yourself. Out the back comes really fulfilling career, loads of money, loads of clients.
Okay, right. That's beautiful. Because what I like about that is that you're actually testing, you're teaching what you're testing. You're literally doing the thing,
mm-hmm.
and people are coming to you for that knowledge that you've learned from doing the thing to do with their own thing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Because there was a part of me which was like, is this a bit dodgy? Because, I'm making money from people making money. And I was like, okay, how do I reason that in my head? I mean, the first thing is I was originally just a content coach. So I knew I made, good 4 figures or good 5 figures from just being a content coach. So I walked the walk on that, built that, and then it all just naturally evolved from helping people with their offers, helping people with their sales, all these things, to the point where I was like, it's just a full stack offer. And then I was like, what am I being most useful for my clients? And it was content, but then it was like, well, if you don't have a good offer, you can't make content about it.
Yeah.
And if you don't have good sales process, it doesn't matter how good your content or your offer is. So it just became full stack. But effectively, that's what I see. It's what we literally chatted about this outside, that I want to build a career for myself where I get paid to learn more, and that what I learn then benefits the people that I pay.
I was thinking about this the other day is because, like, when you think about mentorship, everyone is looking above one level. And like if you like mentoring, you're looking over your shoulder a little bit and reaching a hand back as well. So like the guy who's earning 1K a month, well, he's probably learning from the guy who's earning 10, from who's earning 10 and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just like such a beautiful business model.
Mm-hmm. And people, because then what the first thing that people hear, and if someone's listening to this, they're probably like, sounds like a pyramid scheme. Because it's like, because it's like, there's someone here that makes money from someone here. But the thing is, the world is that.
But the world is a fucking pyramid scheme.
100%.
You know,
100%.
Everyone's taken from everyone, but also if you're contributing, look, here's the thing. You don't get paid unless you're bringing something to the table. No matter what it is. If you're selling fucking dishwasher tablets or you're selling a content business.
Of course.
They have to be good dishwasher tablets for somebody to pay their money. So, yeah, do you get a lot of like what you just said there about people's perception of it being like a pyramid scheme or whatever? Do you think that that's like self-induced in your head, or do you actually get people saying that to you?
Yes, many times I get people saying that to me because
Really?
people love the fact that I say that I make money from people making money. But if you boil that down, that is what, I don't know, everyone in the UK goes to university. Like lecturers are just teaching back what they've learned already. And there's so many examples of that in the world where, as you say, mentorship and all that sort of thing is people just teaching back things. So I definitely get the hate, like it comes, but I always believe that if you listen to the average Joe, then your life ends up like the average Joe. So I've got that strong mental frame that if I'm getting hate from people whose lives I fundamentally would never want to live, I'm doing a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's like, right, who is that hate coming from? Is it pretty important factor to consider? And like when you think about, you want to take advice from somebody where you want to be, like, you know, you don't want to, like me and you gladly part with our money for mentors.
Of course.
Don't we?
Of course.
And why?
Yeah.
Because we want to absorb what they have. And so if that's a pyramid scheme, then I'm a fucking I'm a connoisseur.
Yeah. We're straight into it. And I've like in the last 2.5 months, I've spent 23K on mentorship.
Oh yeah.
And firstly, I believe that if I am asking people to pay me money, I should be paying money myself. That's the first thing. And second, every single time I've done it, it has turned into a 3, 4, 5x ROI. Every single time. And I can only vouch for that myself by saying investing has been the best thing I've done. And mentorship is the easiest way to accelerate time because you have a choice. You can go and do it on your own. Like if you want to go and get fit in a gym, go and walk into a gym, go and use some weights. You're going to lift the wrong way. You're going to eat the wrong food. You're going to do that. But you will learn over time what is good and what isn't. But that is frustrating. And what you could just do is go and get a PT and they're going to tell you the whole thing. And that's the same way I see business mentorship. You can go and do it on your own. And on sales calls, I often say to people like, if you want to do this on your own, crack on. The reason you work with me is because I'm going to save you time, pain, and energy doing the things that are wrong. And that has a lot of value to it because what is more precious than money? Time.
And also, we talked about this before as well. We fucking so much good content before we started rolling. Good. But like it's like, what are you spending your money on then? You know, if you're happy with where you're at and don't want to like improve, fair enough. But like, if you want to improve your capacity to earn money, you know, it might make sense to learn from somebody who's earning more than you.
100%. The thing that I think it comes from the idea that money is earned by you putting your time in. So this 9 to 5 mentality that I turn up at 9 in the morning for work. I then finish at 5. And once I've done that, a paycheck enters my bank account. And that money that I earn is for me to go and spend on leisure activities. That is the way that people see money. Whereas I see money as I have received value from someone else.
Yeah.
They are then getting paid for that. And I'm going to use that money to find more value from someone else and just keep that cycle going. And
pyramid scheme.
Exactly. That's the thing. And that's why I love it.
Oh my God, it's so good. But let's go back, right? So go back a few steps to you starting this like engine that you've created that is like, you've smashed it, man. 100K in as many days is incredible. But like, how did you actually identify that you could help somebody with that? Because you said you were a content coach originally, and was it more so through doing repetitions that then you eventually found yourself like looking through the weeds and then found it?
Yeah, it's so interesting. It was so organic the way that happened because I literally was just posting content for 18 months, and without realizing, I developed a high ticket skill, which was posting good organic content.
Yeah,
and that skill then had people coming to me being like, I see your content. I like your content. Teach me how to make your content. Started helping people for free. And then I was getting good results. And then people were like, I see the results you're getting. Can I pay you? And I was like, okay, so you can pay me to do this. Absolutely fine. So then I started a very small mentorship with people with their content. They were smashing it out of the park. And then while they were smashing out of the park, I started realizing who I liked working with, who I preferred working with, and who like I felt like I could help more. And it was not people who wanted to be content creators. It was people that had a business and they wanted leads. And then, so that was like how I then was like, all right, I'm going to help people with businesses with their content. And then again, the evolution just happened again. It was, okay, now I'm helping those people. What is the fundamental thing that's stopping their content from doing well? It's not the content. It's because they have no idea who they're speaking to. They have no idea what their offer is. There's no clarity in that. So I was like, just to these people, like, why don't we just jump on a call and talk about your offer? And then we sorted that out. And then it was like offer, content. And then at the end of it, it was like, I'm getting people on sales calls, but I'm shitting myself about how to actually close them. And I had then done 3 months of high ticket sales, generated like done about 150K in high ticket sales.
Just for like someone else?
For someone else while I was
really?
transitioning out of corporate. So I actually developed that skill as well. And then I was like, well, I can help you if you want.
Yeah.
And then it was the trifecta about, okay, this is exactly how you build an offer with content, with lead generation, and how you close them. And then that's basically how I accidentally built this business.
What so many things unpack there. Like I love the fact that you just kind of figured it out, because it's very, this is something I say to the guys that I work with as well, is like, you very rarely what you start out with is what you end up with. Like it takes many shapes, and you learn so much, and you learn what's good and what's shit, and then you cast aside some things and take on some new things. And it's beautiful how you've found this, by the way. It's really cool. And also the second thing I want to say is the magic trifecta, as you've said, like having a good offer, driving leads to that with content, and being able to close those leads with a good sales function.
That's it.
Equals freedom and money.
Yeah.
Amazing, right? With you though, like with your client base, like who typically comes to you? Because you mentioned content creators, and then you also mentioned business owners. Do you have, what would you say the balance is like between who comes to you?
So it was content creators, and now it's exclusively business owners, because of the fact that I realized content is this mystical thing that everyone talks about. It's just marketing. Like it's just literally putting your face and your brand in front of other people, just like a billboard on the road. And I say to people, I'm like, you think about content in this weird, confusing, how the hell do I nail it way. It's like, just think about if I was to say, you have a business, you want to put a billboard on the road, who do you want seeing it? What do you want them to do after they see it? And what is the outcome, and what is the product that you're driving with that? And that's when you think about content in a different way. And I wanted to help people who had a tangible outcome at the end of that, not people who wanted to chase ego and vanity and wanted to be walked around and someone to recognize them in the pub. I wanted someone to be like, this bit of content that you told me to make has made me X amount of money.
Amazing.
Because of the fact that I've nailed it.
But those content, like I think people that get into content creation because they think it's like a way to just make money. Like you get followers, you show your arse or whatever, and then boom, money just appears in your account.
Yeah.
And I actually have a few friends who, there's one of my friends in particular, like his Instagram blew up, and he makes a lot of running content, but he was kind of looking at this as an avenue to get sponsorship revenue, right? I don't know if you know anyone who does this, right? But the model is just like ugly, man.
Awful.
Ugly. Like you're chasing people for payments. The payments aren't that great either. Shite, actually. You get those little links in bio, and you get like a few cent if somebody got. It's just shit, man.
Agreed.
And in reality, like if you are making content to fuel your financial choices in your life, and not just for clout, right? If you're making it for clout, forget, like you're not in this conversation. But if you're doing it as a means to generate revenue for yourself, the sponsorship model is like ugly. Agreed. Unless you're Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, well, exactly. But the thing is, like, no one is Kim Kardashian, and then everyone gets into this, the world of that, and it doesn't work unless you've got a humongous audience. And realistically, people get humongous audiences by living tail lives, like lives that are very much in the 1%, 2%, or they're 1% and 2% people who have got crazy personalities, all this sort of thing. And for the average person, you can make an incredible amount of money and have an incredible life, by seeing content as a way to build a business, but not off being a content creator. And it's fascinating. They're like, I almost made a YouTube video about it, but I was like, I've got too many friends who do it, which was stop chasing brand deals. And every time, again, going back to the billboard example, is every time you put a brand deal out there, you are effectively renting all of the hard work you've put into just giving brand free billboard space.
And you're like, you're hoping that the people who have trusted you buy this other thing that's like nothing to do with you, that you're just hoping to skim a bit off the top from.
You're an advert. You're a walking advert.
Yeah.
It's like you're not building a business. And as soon as your engagement goes down, and as soon as you're not the hot topic anymore, your business just goes. And like, I can't imagine how terrifying that is, because you could wake up the next week and, I don't know, Instagram ban your account.
Yeah.
You're stuffed. Or suddenly you have a scandal about you, all these sort of things. And your business just goes overnight, because your business is literally just a number of followers and engagement. And that, I feel strongly on this, because I say to people, say people, stop doing brand deals, stop chasing clout, because you're not going to build a business off it.
And also as well, Darren, my mentor, talks about this as well. Darren, who you know as well, is like, stop chasing views, bro.
It's ridiculous.
It doesn't matter.
Man.
It doesn't matter. Views are not going to pay your rent.
Exactly. And I've got an amazing story on this, because the biggest reason why I learned that chasing views is the worst thing is I had a YouTube video. It was about how to create content as an online high ticket offer holder.
Okay.
And it did 70 views, which like for me is like poor performance. It's like, I was like, this is flopped. Absolutely. Like, maybe delete it. And then I had a sales call booked in from a random woman in America. And she said, I searched on Google how to build content for my high ticket offer. Mine was the first video that came up. She booked in a call and paid multiple 4 figures in full on the call. And I was like, that is everything I needed to know about content.
If that is not the biggest advertisement for making tailored, specific content, not chasing views, in order to get paid, I don't know what is.
It's fascinating. But and you found that as well. Is that the thing, what you tell your clients?
Well, yeah. I mean, if I take you back like to me starting this podcast, I was a classic example of someone starting a podcast with the best intentions. I wanted to help people and try and help people realize how good life can be if you put in a bit of work and then get like, you know, the passive income chestnut that I told you about before the call. But I had no offer. No offer. I was just releasing content very like, you know, with great spirit. And I was getting messages, man. People like being like, oh my God, I really want to get to where you are and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you to do. I don't have an offer. I don't know how I can service you. And I've since changed that, of course. But yeah, I kind of got pulled into the world of, I actually was thinking, maybe I'll get sponsors down the line when I get this sick podcast that just blows up. And it was a beautiful learning curve.
But you have to go through it, right? Yeah. And I had the same thing. I must have been posting organic content for 12 months before even thinking what the hell I was going to do with it.
Really?
But I just saw that it was my ticket to freedom, because I read a great book. I'm not sure if you've read it, called the Almanac of Naval Ravikant. It's
the goat.
I've probably read that like back to back 3 times.
Do you know, I actually haven't read the book, but I've listened to like every piece of audio content that man has.
Man, after this podcast, just get on it. And in the Almanac of Naval Ravikant, the reason that book changed my life was I read it and it told me 2 things. Firstly, the most important thing in the world is to have leverage, and to understand that if you don't have leverage, you are always trading your time for money, and you can never be wealthy or never have freedom if you're trading your time for money. And the second thing that I learned was that the 2 best ways to do that are with social trust and code. And what he means by that is you either can gain huge amounts of leverage by having an audience of people who trust you and believe your opinion, which is again posting content, and you can gain incredible leverage by having code working for you when you sleep. And in my business right now, the only 2 things that I focus on is how can I gain more trust from people, and how can I use code to work for me when I sleep.
Code.
AI, automations, all that sort of thing. So right now, you know, my even small things like my content is scheduled to post for tomorrow.
Sure.
That's one small bit of leverage, like that you get, right? And once you use those two things, it's incredible. But that book changed my life. I can't even remember why you asked me that. Where that came
it's a beautiful
from,
rabbit hole to go down, man.
Yeah.
But like going back to your business then, right? Let's just zoom back in there, because offers, content, and sales, beautiful little trifecta of which you can earn your way. If I think about like the sales component of that, how do you find your clients? Do your clients like struggle with the idea of selling?
So much. It's the biggest blocker that mentally people have to get over if they're ever gonna make money online. And the reason that I think people struggle with sales comes from a deep-rooted belief that they don't believe their product is worth selling. And I say to people,
drop the mic.
I say to people, like, I'm saying, I believe it is a fundamental moral like obligation of me to sell to coaches and consultants, because of the fact that I believe with my whole heart that the program I have built is going to change the face of their business. And when I sit on sales calls, I have so much conviction because of the fact that I believe my product is so good. The opposite is true, that if you're scared of selling, it really comes down to that you don't believe in the fact that your product is going to have the impact it does. If you're a PT and you see someone who's overweight and your business is built around helping people there, then you should believe fundamentally that person needs your help.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And did you resonate? Is this
100%, man? And even like a couple of days ago at the mastermind, a dude, Connor, shout out Connor if you're listening, but he's like, he's a fitness coach turned business coach who coaches fitness coaches. So he's like, he's like kind of gone up a level and is now helping other up and comers who are building up the pyramid. Yeah. And he's like, one of the things he said to me really stuck out to me about conviction, what you said there, which is when I'm on a sales call, I feel it as my duty to give this person what I have if they are a good fit. I don't feel it like I'm manipulating them or coercing them.
Sure.
I'm more so making them see what they need to see in order to feel good about the purchase so they can actually get the desired outcome that they actually want. Because if they don't pay for the service, they're probably not going to get the outcome. However, if they do, they'll get it. And that's his job. The way he sees it is to deliver that to them.
I couldn't agree more. And then the extra step of conviction that I have on that step is that I have regularly told people that I don't believe I can help them on sales calls and said, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try and pitch you because I don't believe I can help you. And that means that I, in myself, am so authentic with when I say to someone, look, I'm going to push here because I truly believe that this is the right thing for you. Because on the other side, I've sat on calls where I don't push. I'm like, look, I don't think this is a good fit. Please do not pay money to me.
Sure.
I've literally had people ask to pay money and I've gone, no, I'm not taking your money. And that makes me feel
amazing,
authentic. And I like, it gets woo-woo a little bit, but like, I believe that energy and that authenticity is a really
100%.
important thing that comes across.
100%, man. 100%. You could sleep better at night as well. I mean, I don't think there actually is evil people in the world. I think everybody wants to be a good person, like genuinely.
100%.
I think it's just like maybe you might feel someone's fucked you over. You might feel like someone's a dickhead, but everyone in their own head feels like they're a good person and wants to be a good person. And I think even when I think back to my own business, when I started, there was a guy, this is in the property space, so I won't like give you all the spec, but basically he was giving me a deal. I could have worked with him on the deal. I had no risk. He had all the risk and I would just benefit from the management fee I would take off the top because I would carry it out for him. And he asked me as the expert to kind of like cast my eye over the deal. And I said, look, to be honest with you, I don't think you should take, and I didn't know this guy. He just came to me through a friend of a friend circle. I said, I don't think you should take this, man, you know, and property's a fucking the Wild West as cowboys. That guy respected the fact that I walked away from easy money so much that he became a client 6 months later.
No way.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Isn't it?
That's awesome. That's that's such a cool story because it says everything that you need about running a good quality business and being a good person because it always comes back to benefit you. Always
100%.
comes back to benefit you.
Content. Let's talk content. So we've kind of touched on it, and I think one of the things I want to go back to is the fact that you use the way you said code, and you've got like your content scheduled. I think content is great, and we can go into the specifics of the production of the content.
Sure.
Like as in how do I create like the structure of a video or whatever. But in terms of like systems to set it up? Like, how far in advance are you like scheduling content? Like, if I was to look at I use Metricool. I don't know if you use them.
I use Buffer, but yeah, similar vibe.
Any good?
Yeah. It's good.
Decent.
It gives me
it schedules content.
Yeah, exactly right.
But like, how far in advance are you batch loading, and how do you? On top of that question, I'll ask, how much do you record at once, or are you kind of an in the moment guy?
So I've got a good story about this because in September last year, I made 30 videos and in a row, and I had my whole month done.
Whoa!
And
one day,
I woke up on the 1st of September and didn't have to make a bit of content for 30 days, and that was the worst thing that I've ever done. And I can tell you why. Is because the problem with that is if you batch make too much in advance, then it ruins the fundamental reason why we should do content, which is test, iterate, test, iterate, test, iterate.
Yes.
And the problem that happened is on the 6th of September, I had a post that went out and didn't do so well. And on the 7th of September, I had the same post going out or similar style post. And the problem with that is I didn't learn. So I keep my iteration cycles as short as possible so that once I post something 5 days ago, I can then say today, did it work or not? Am I then going to make it again? So that's the biggest thing. So to answer your question specifically, I batch make because you can't wake up every morning, make content. That's going to cause burnout.
Yeah.
But I also don't take the piss with it because otherwise I'm just like, I'm committed to content that I don't want to necessarily go out in 25 days time.
So fucking true.
So maybe like, it then comes into like what your life looks like. But I think probably weekly or bi-weekly is like maximum iteration time. But the best thing is if you can do it daily, because the best thing is if you can wake up and say that banged yesterday, I'm going to make it again. But that's just not feasible or practical in people's lives because we don't have unlimited time.
So how does that look for you on a weekly basis then? Do you have like I'm doing 3 YouTube videos, I'm doing 6, like what does that look like?
So I'm doing 14 shorts a week and 4 YouTube videos right now. And
14 shorts and how many?
4 YouTube videos.
4 YouTube,
yeah.
Solid.
So I hit that by batch making about a week in advance, but there's a few ways that you could help with that, which is just picking up ideas that already work and just doing that again, super easy to
Your
do.
content is great, by the way. Your shorts, it's super low effort. Yeah. It's just got the B-roll and like sometimes it's just got a bit of writing on it. Like that's like,
man, like it's
just I'm in your face. Here's the billboard. Here's the billboard. Here's the billboard. I'm Saul again.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is it doesn't need to be more complicated than that because content, you're asking for people's time. And if you constantly put 1 minute 50 videos down their throat, they're just going to be like, I'm just sick of him. I'm not interested.
True.
So I have my content, I think in 2 ways of my content. I have eyeballs content, which is like the 5 to 15 second video, which is just like Soul, here's Soul, here's Soul, here's Soul. Just reminder of here's Soul. And then the other short form content that I use, which is a bit more value content. So I want eyeballs, but then I also want people to associate me with giving them information. So for example, you mentioned to me the one where I talked about like your information coming through your phone and what is like useful. You have developed more trust and connection in me because of that. But you probably wouldn't have watched that video if you hadn't watched 5 videos before that were 15 seconds to 5 seconds. So I mix between those styles of content and then send people to YouTube, which are long form, big value videos.
You just remind me of one of the videos you did. What was it again? It was like when you sit on the couch and you start scrolling and it's like David Goggins you're not doing enough, you're not doing enough.
But see, okay, so it's such a good point. So if anyone's listening right now, I'm worried about their content. The way that I made that video is I was actually scrolling on the couch.
So fucking.
And I was like, I saw that video come up by someone else making it, but it was about it was something slightly different. It was about, I think it was about someone was scrolling on their phone, but they were just talking about not going to the gym or something like that. It was like, you could either go to the gym or you could scroll on your phone. And I saw that video on my Instagram feed. I went, I'm always scrolling and just thinking like, how can I make this video?
Yeah.
And I went, okay, this video perfectly applies to my niche, but I can change it to talk about building a business, like procrastinating, building a business. Within 5 minutes, I'd filmed the whole video, sent it off to my editor. And that's a good quality bit of content that you've got value from. And the production time is 5 minutes for me.
Yeah.
And that's how I make content in such high batches, but without burning out.
And then so you just sticking on your flow of content then. So you'll have an idea, think of it, whip it up, send it to editor, I'm presuming with a little brief,
Yeah.
and then they'll go and schedule it for
Yeah.
you. Amazing.
Ideally, like obviously it's not sustainable to have think idea, do it, and that's the only way you make content. But I almost have two systems.
If magic comes to you,
If
you'll
magic
do
comes.
it in the moment.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, if magic comes, then so you want to have a base, which is like, I know that there is a bit of content going out every day for the next week for me. And then if I have the spark, reduce time to creation, just get out and do it. So the other day, like, was driving back to my house on my bike, had an idea about talking about bottlenecks in business and how to solve it. And I went, I could either just write this down on a bit of paper and make it in 3 days time, or I could stop my bike in the middle of the road. And I just went for a 15-minute walk, filmed the video, stop, done. YouTube video.
Yeah. Oh, I think I actually watched that one. There was one where you were just holding the camera and I was like, he's just fucking walking around with his phone there. It's so easy.
And that's because people just like, the reason like you're probably listening to this right now is that you're probably just enjoying hopefully the value you're getting from this. And I was like, why make a really fancy video? And at the start, I just say, this isn't going to be any thrills, but if you're a coach or a consultant who wants to scale their online offer, just make yourself a cup of coffee, put your headphones in, go for a walk, and listen to this, because I'm going to tell you about the 5 problems that you're suffering with right now.
Oh, that is a great hook.
And I was just like, just go.
Yeah.
And it's like, people just want value. Like,
yeah,
don't need
give
explosions and all this shit. Like,
yeah.
just tell them what they need. And everyone's going to find that boring apart from a coach or a consultant
Exactly.
who needs to scale, and then perfect.
Because you're obviously like, man, you're doing super well with the content. And we talked before about, you post a lot about like UK mindset, you know, and people who maybe judge from the fringes and have something to say. And very often, if you're not maybe thick skinned or you've not got the right perspective, it can hurt or it can damage you or it can stop you. How have you found because I think what I just said there will stop people from starting or stop them very quickly after they've started. Do you know what I mean? Like someone in a 9 to 5 and they're like looking at us and they're like, oh fuck, I want to get a bit of the action. How do you, especially in the early stage, because right now you're bulletproof, right? You don't give a fuck. But going back to Saul, who was just starting, let's think about him for a sec. How are you getting over the either actual judgment or the perceived judgment in your own mind?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I think you can deal with them separately, because perceived judgment is something that only you can fix because of the fact that it's an inner state, right? And I love the fact that it's effectively, if you care what other people think, it shows that you're not certain in what you want to do yourself. Because the way that I got over the perceived judgment was saying, okay, well, if there's perceived judgment, then why am I questioning the decisions and the actions that I'm taking? I wasn't like, where is this judgment coming from? It's actually coming from me judging myself and being like,
Bingo.
am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing here? So once I'd become clear on my why, the perceived judgment went, because I was like, well, there's the only judgment is coming from my head, and now I've sorted that. I'm like, okay, great. I'm confident in what I want to do. Then you have to deal with everyone else. And that is, as you say, no matter what you're going to do, you're going to get so much judgment, because at the end of the day, if you want an extraordinary life, you have to take extraordinary actions. And to take extraordinary actions, you have to take actions that makes people feel insecure about what they're doing, because they're doing normal things. And I effectively was ripped the shit out of for weeks on end about posting content, because like I was a rugby guy, I was like pints, all that sort of thing, like, you know what London's like, you know what, you can imagine what life was like for me. And all of a sudden I was posting TikToks about like me walking down the road, and I was like, what are you doing? And I just thought that if I continued caring what other people thought about me, then I'm living their life, not my life. And I had such big goals and ambitions or not even goals and ambitions. I had such a design of what I wanted my life to look like, that by people judging me, the only thing I was letting them do was impact the chance of me actually being able to achieve that life for myself. And that's how I just stayed strong on it. I just stayed strong.
Cool. It's so mad, because like that, what you said there about people stopping you, either actually or in your own head, from living the life that you want. Like, how many people will not actually even attempt that? Because man, I'm speaking from experience here. Like I've been through this as well, where when I started posting content, all the perceived judgment, which, as you correctly pointed out, is just self-judgment, starts to arise, and it can just easily stop you. Whereas I think something you nailed there is, if you know exactly what you want from your life, then that falls, it should, in theory, fall aside, or at least become softer and easier to deal with. But I think, and I'm just going to go a little bit of a rabbit hole here, I don't think the majority of people back in London and Ireland, whatever, I don't think a lot of people ask themselves what they want. Like, really being like, all right, is this actually what I want for my life? And if so, great, you know. But I think if more people asked themselves that question and really considered it, you know, people would start doing shit.
Agreed. And that's why the mindset part of when I start working with people is the most important thing, because unless you have that clearly defined, things fall apart everywhere around you.
Do you teach that in the program?
It's the biggest thing that I start with is mindset, because I say to people, the first thing you need to do before you start learning client acquisition systems and how to post content is mindset. Because the thing about mindset is it plays out in your business failing. So like, we can go through loads of examples, but if you're scared to post content, it's because you care about what other people think of you. If you cannot jump on sales calls and close people, it's because you're not confident enough in your value and the things you offer. If you don't do the certain outbounds that you need to be doing to build this offer, it's because your organization isn't good enough, because you've not basically you don't have the habits that are needed in order to be able to do things consistently. So everything falls apart once you don't have the right mindset and habits in place. And I always say that your business is just an extension of you as a human being.
Beautiful.
And everything that goes wrong in your business is a personal flaw, a personal thing that you need to work on. And I'm sure we both see that. I'm sure amazing. Everything that's gone wrong in your business, you're just like, I know, I can date this back to like,
it's me.
School.
It's me.
Yeah.
It's
it's you. And I can see patterns like this happening when I was a kid, when I was in school, and now it's playing out in my business.
I remember before I started working with Darren, he said, he was like, on a few podcasts, he said, I think, I don't know if I'm butchering it, but he said, your clients are a reflection of you. And I was like, oh my God, I've got some clients who are just unreal, like the best, most optimistic. They're seasoned life by the balls. They're low touch, they're low stress, they're low maintenance, they're supportive, they're understanding, they're compassionate, all this stuff. And then I have some other clients who are stressful, anxious, worrying, fearful, bit intense. And they're showing me different parts of myself. And that was a big unlock for me.
That's fascinating, isn't it? Because you are the energy that you attract, I think I've said that right, but you
bring in what you pull in what you're spitting out, really.
Sure, 100%. So that's why I think entrepreneurship is so much about personal development, because of and that's why we're all fascinated by optimizing all these things, because at the end of the day, like, once I sort my mindset out, my business falls into place.
Amazing.
As soon as things fall out of place, then as soon as things fall out of place in my personal life and my mindset, I can see that play out in my business.
I actually say this to the guys I work with as well. It's like, this actually, it's not really only about, like, it's partly about making money. It's partly about like systems and shit, but it's like this weird journey you go on internally in your own head. And I think that's like less often talked about. You know?
And that's why entrepreneurship is the single best thing that I've ever found in my life, because of the fact that it tests me as a human being every single day. It makes me question all of my beliefs. It makes me question all of my habits. And I have grown in the last 6 months more than I believe I've grown in the last 10 years before that.
100%.
Because of everything that I've been tested to do and everything that I've been asked of by the business. And small things like having to give up alcohol or wanting to give up alcohol because of it. Small things like getting my routine in shape. Like, I am more of a human being that I'm proud of in the last 6 months than most of growing up.
That's a big one. The self pride. I'm going to share a little story here about mindset, because I think I told you before we got on the call about me doing the hypnosis session with Ibrahim. And in the hypnosis session, I came into it trying to uncover, why was I being fearful about X, Y, and Z? Why was I very subtly judging myself about A, B, and C? And why am I not being like compassionate towards myself? And because I'm not doing these things to myself, it's rippling out to others, right? And it's kind of how I, like you just said, like you attract what you're putting out, kind of thing. And when I did the session, like it showed me so much, man. And it made me rethink like the way I was seeing everything just changed, like in almost in an instant. And I still listen to the hypnosis session. It's like something that's recorded, and it's like trying to bake it into my subconscious. But if you can fix the way you're looking at things, your business, your life, your relationships will all naturally just take care of themselves. It seems to be, anyway, at least
100%. 100%.
So would definitely recommend hypnosis to anyone.
Agreed. Same experience. Best thing I've ever done. So good.
Yeah. What was yours like?
It was amazing for all of the reasons that you said, and it has made, it's like, yeah, as you say, things are baked into you as through childhood, through growing up, that you don't realize form part of your subconscious. And I realized that certain events had been baked into me and then were causing issues in my life. And yeah, as soon as I did it, it was, again, it sounds like two blokes sat in Bali talking about hypnosis, right? It's like, it's crazy. It sounds super out there, but I think it almost comes back to like another topic, bit of a side tangent, but it's just about being really open-minded to all of these things. And you were open-minded to doing hypnosis. You could have been like, oh, it's woo-woo stuff that people do out in Bali, but I'm going to be open-minded to it. And I think it's fair to say it's almost changed your life or changed how you think, right?
Fundamentally.
Which is the fact that you're open to it. And that's often the biggest issue that I find with a lot of people, is that they're just not open to things. And I guess what's the worst outcome? If it went wrong, nothing happened. Like whatever.
Yeah.
But if it goes right, then what could you get out of things? And I was super open to the idea of hypnosis.
Yeah.
And it was incredible what the outcome was. And that wouldn't have happened unless I was just like, okay, let's give this a try. And isn't that just like life? Isn't that what's cool about life? Is just being like, there's this random thing that I'm just going to give a try, because why not?
Who was it that was saying that one of the biggest life skills is like the ability to be wrong or to change your mind about something?
That.
Probably fucking Hormozy with all the shit he's spitting out.
50-50 chance probably.
Yeah. I actually posted something on his story the other day, or from my story. It was like, I literally said, I need to stop reposting his shit.
Ridiculous.
But he just keeps spitting gold, man. He is the GOAT.
Yeah.
But just going back to, let's go on to Bali. Like, how have you found, because you moved out here, what was it, like 9 months ago? Or?
So I actually moved out here. It's very much baked into my story, because very long story short, I came here before I started my corporate job while I was traveling, and I saw people living the life that I was like, I can't believe this exists. They were playing paddle on a Tuesday afternoon. They were making money that I was just like, I'm not money motivated, but they were just making money that I couldn't fathom. They were all ripped. They were all super happy. They were all fulfilled. And I was like, I looked at people back in London and I was just like, that is who I'm going to become, which is unfulfilled. Like, and I'm not saying this is everyone in London, but like a lot of people that I saw the conveyor belt I was on, and I was just like, I never forget when one of my managers in the corporate one said to me, you don't really enjoy about 80% of the work you do here, but the 20% is always worth it. And I was just like, fuck that. Like, I was like, fuck that. Anyway, so going back to that, Bali, I saw this, I was shown this little carrot, and then I got back on a plane and started on my first day in London as in my corporate 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And then I just did 8 months of that, like hated every minute of it, not because of the company, just because of the fact that it was 9 to 5, working corporate, all that sort of thing. And then the only thing I thought about was getting on the first plane back here again, because of, I'm sure, reasons we'll discuss now, but because of the fact that it's the best place in the world to be an entrepreneur, I believe. And yeah, it's just, I'm so happy I'm here. I felt like this is what I wanted for the last year. And that's why all I could think about was coming back here again. So it was like 2-part story to the Bali part.
So what would you say, like on on a deeper level, like you said there, the words unfulfilled. Like,
Mm.
what would you say alongside that you've kind of received having come to Bali?
I put it down to a really tangible feeling of waking up and just being excited to like work on a mission. And that is every day. The first thing I think about is my business, which sounds sad, but it's not, because I remember waking up every day for my corporate job and thinking, I do not want to put my shirt on because it's one step closer to being sat at a desk doing something that doesn't give me any energy or doesn't give me any joy. Whereas now, like, I just want to roll over and just start building. And I think fundamentally as people, we were saying this, we were like, you can make loads of money, but it doesn't actually make any difference, because if you don't feel like you're building something or you have a purpose or you don't feel fulfilled, then life just doesn't have the same meaning to it. And I cannot describe the difference in feeling that I have every day, feeling like I'm building something versus the difference of feeling like I am building a work that is so meaningless, and B, building someone else's dream life.
I was just thinking there as you were saying that about the person who's in a, like, this is probably old me and you here, right?
Sure.
You know, if you're in a 9 to 5 and you're thinking, well, I don't want to have to think about business all the time. Well, I'm not money motivated. Yada, yada, yada. The first part is like, well, you are money motivated because you do 40 hours of work a week. Why else are you doing that? You know, so that's bullshit. But I think the idea of, I think being an entrepreneur gets like a bad rep, or it's almost talked about in a negative light of like, you know, the husband who's been like too distant from the kids or whatever. Sure, that happens, and people have a bad relationship with alcohol. They have a bad relationship with poker or whatever the fuck they think. Like, you know, you can have a bad relationship with anything. That's on you. But man, to what you said there, like to wake up and be excited about your day, to be like, wake up and be invigorated, that is literally priceless.
Is that not just the goal in life? And I remember this feeling so well of being excited to wake up every day, because when I first got to Bali, I was waking up before my alarm at like 5 a.m, because all I could think about was I just woke up with a smile on my face. I was so excited to build what I was building. And then I contrasted that to then waking up at 7 a.m to a horrible alarm in London and feeling awful. And I was like, those two really tangible, specific examples are the exact reason why all I could think about was how to get out of that job. And all I wanted to do was get back to this lifestyle. And I'm back at it now, and I can say it's just as good as I remember it. And that exactly, that's the thing. And that's why I like to say wake up in the morning excited, because it's easy to say purposeful, feeling fulfilled, but it's really hard to put that down to a tangible feeling. And that's the only way I've been able to describe it.
Because like fulfilled is this abstract concept almost to somebody who is unfulfilled and somebody who doesn't have purpose. That's like you almost can't really grasp it, because it doesn't make sense to you right there. But I think what you can make sense of is just being excited about what you are waking up to do that day.
Yes.
Which is just a beautiful thing.
100%. And that it always made me laugh so much. The two things that made me laugh about corporate life was, firstly, the idea of Sunday scaries. Like, that as a concept is, you are terrified about your next day. You've built a life where you're terrified about the next day. Like, that seems so crazy.
When you break that down, that is actually mad.
It's awful.
Like actually mad. And it's like, you know, you are literally inside your pocket. You have a vehicle to never have to do that again.
Yeah.
You just have to click a few buttons, absorb a series of information, take a series of action, and you never ever have to do that again.
Yeah. And you're just, and it's like you're living in a fear of exactly that. And then that is the part that is like, it's actually easier to change. And then the extension of that, the second part is that I always found, again, I hope maybe tangible to people who are listening to this, but you know, corporate chat where it's like, what did you do at the weekend? What are you doing at the weekend?
Yeah.
And then the other thing that was crazy to me is when people were the whole holiday system. So people were gaming the holiday system. They were like, okay, if I take a day here, if I take a day here, I can buy a holiday. If I all I talk about is the next holiday. It was like, I used to work with people who had spreadsheets about how they could take a holiday here that then means that they would get 4 days off in a row. And I was like, maybe if you just spent a bit more time actually not needing a holiday or designing a life where you don't need a day's holiday, isn't that more like a better use of your time?
Like like, honestly, man, I know it sounds extreme, but you're a slave. Like, you are a slave to this thing. The way you see it, you can't live your life unless this thing is done that provides you money to then go and buy fuel and groceries and shit.
That's sure.
You are beholden to this thing fundamentally. And that's
sure, man. I couldn't agree more. And it feels really aggressive to say the word slave, and it definitely is aggressive, but I completely agree with it because it's like, you are at the end of the day not having choice. And that is when it comes down to everything, it's not money, it's not even time freedom, it just comes down to this one word for me, which is choice. And it's like, I could either go and work for the next 12 hours, or I could literally not do a single bit of work for the rest of the day, or I could go and move to South Africa tomorrow morning, or I could stay here. And every single part of that is just being able to have that choice. And if you don't have any of those parts of choice, I believe that you are being constrained by someone else. And the difference between whether that is a good idea, if someone's listening to this and they're thinking whether that's a good idea, is you can sacrifice choice. What you get in return for that is stability. You can only have one or the other.
Yes.
You obviously can have degrees of, but like, we've maximized choice, but tomorrow morning we might never make a single dollar again from our business.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we have choice. And people who work corporate jobs and 9 to 5s, fair play. They want stability. They want to wake up every morning and know that a paycheck is coming in. But then they have to go and serve someone else's dream if they want to do that.
And when I say this shit as well, like, just to add to that, like, I don't say it to the person who's like really happy and loves what they do. I say it to the person who is like you and I, who is actually sat there being like, I fucking hate this, and I'm just not. But they're not doing anything. It's like, I think back to my old man. Honestly, the reason I do what I do is because I'm trying to be in service to my old self.
Love it.
Do you know what I mean?
Love it.
I mean, you're probably the same.
100%.
Because do you like see yourself in your clients sometimes?
Sure.
Like,
sure.
Oh fuck, like.
I remember that. I remember having that problem. I remember having that mindset thing. Like, but that's the best thing. It's just
that's why this pyramid scheme is so beautiful.
But it's true, right? Because all we're doing is teaching people behind us.
Yeah.
And if the whole world did that, the whole world would be a better place.
Hey, fucking man, brother.
And people are going to listen to that. They're going to go, yeah, but you make money off that. And that's because there's this fundamental misunderstanding that I say regularly to my clients, like, if I'm, if there's an invoice to be paid and there's a bit of like issues or anything like that, I say, I don't care about your money. I don't want to go and use it to spend. It's just an exchange of value so that I can then get other people's exchanges of value. Like, we pay for this podcast studio. That is because they provide a great service to us.
Yeah.
You make money from your clients in order to then give value to someone else, the guy who set this podcast studio up.
Yes.
And if you believe that someone is taking something from you by them paying money, then it's a misunderstanding of what money actually means.
So true.
And that's why it's like, if we are having value and impact to people, we should get paid, and that's very fair. Just like if you walk into a supermarket and someone hands you a lovely bit of bread, you don't expect to get that for free, do you?
No, they've slaved away on that bread, and they should rightly be exchanged some money for the bread.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Oh man, pyramid schemes, content, sales. we did Bali.
Exactly.
We're just too fucking.
Why
cheap.
did you come out to Bali?
I think it was a gradual decline in my feeling like I was settled in London. I just felt over time like, am I in the right place or am I here by circumstance? And that nagged at me. And then through having a tough breakup and then coinciding with the mastermind that was out here, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go out here. I'm going to put my roots in here for a little bit and just see how it feels. It feels like this could be a good season for me to be here. You know what I mean? I think I like the concept of a season.
Yeah. 100%.
Because the reality is, bro, like, you don't know what you're going to be doing in 2 years. You don't know where the fuck you could live in South Africa. You could be in Fiji.
For sure.
100%. And that's it. And I'm just thinking in seasons now. This season, chill in Bali.
Yeah. I love that. It's so cool. I mean, it's so cool to just, the world's such a small place, and you can actually just up sticks and move anywhere you want with, obviously, you need a bit of money to do it.
Yeah.
And that helps. But where there's a will, there's a way. Like people always say to me, like, I'd love to move to the other side of the world. I'm like, do it. Like, why aren't you doing it? Like, just go and do it. And that's what I love about what that answer meant is like, you had a vision. It obviously aligned with some stuff, and it was like, yeah, let's go make it happen. And worst comes to worst, you book a flight home tomorrow.
Go back.
Yeah, you're back in London tomorrow morning. You can apply for a job and get it in 2 weeks' time, and you can go and do that.
Go back into fucking tech sales.
Exactly.
And you try not to jump off a bridge.
I love that.
Brother, this was really fun, man. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and your wisdom and just having a good laugh. This was good.
Yeah, I loved it. And thanks everyone for listening, and thanks for having me on, mate.
Thanks, brother. Nice, man.
Sweet.
That was fun.
Very good. Enjoyed that a lot, man. That was so good.